Okay, so I've taken out the timing case, and I'm onto the chain. So as you can see, I've set the motor to top dead center on the compression stroke. So if you want to see top dead center on the compression stroke, let me show you real quick here. You can see this mark here. It's lined up with this this little notch here on the back of the timing case, and then also this mark here is pointing upward. There's no corresponding mark here on the timing case, so I've just made my own little mark here just as a reference point. I made this using a pen. And also on the camshaft, if you want to see the camshaft, this is number 1. This is your number 1 here. You can see the little number 1 right there. See number 1. That's your number 1 cylinder. And if you want to check the camshaft, these two number 1s here are pointing up and towards each other. Okay, see the heads are kind of pointing towards each other. Okay, so that's your number 1. So what I'm going to do now is and also on this side, okay, you can see this line here is pointing with this notch here on the back of the timing cover, and then this mark here is pointing to this notch over here. Okay, so that's your number 1. I've just made some marks on the camshaft just to use it as a reference when I do take off the chains. Okay, now let me show you one other thing that you may, if you're doing this by yourself, that you may want to consider doing. Sorry for the camera wiggle here. Okay, let me show you the timing cover. This is the timing cover right here. One other thing you may want to consider doing is, you see right here, I've labeled all the bolt holes here where I took the bolt off. I've labeled them from A to Z. See, this is I've put labeling marks there. And I also labeled the bolts. These are all the bolts that came out of the timing cover. Okay. The reason you may want to consider doing that. Now, the reason you may want to consider doing that is because I mean, there are lots of bolts on the timing cover, and not every one of them is actually used to secure the front cover to the back cover. So and also they have different lengths and sizes. So when you have the glue on and you're gonna put the cover back, I mean, you only have so much time to find out which bolt goes where, and there's a specific order that you have to tighten the bolts. So I just think it's a good idea to do that, so that when you go to put it back, it's you know, you don't freak out, you know, or anything like that, because it's gonna be a pretty tedious job. So just one other thing to consider. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take off the timing chain. Okay, now first thing we're gonna do is remove the timing chain tensioner. Okay, timing chain tensioner right here. It's right here. To remove it, you need a little pin like this. This one came with the new tensioner that I got. So you need a little pin. If it doesn't come with something like this, you could get a cotter pin from like a rivet and use that also. That'll work. But it just has to be small enough to fit into this hole right here. So bear with me 1 second while I get the camera working. Okay, so if you can see the tensioner, there's a little hole right here. See this pin go into this little hole? We need to put it in there in order to hold the tensioner from moving back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is press the guide pin, this little guide pin here, so the tensioner can move back. Okay, so I'm gonna hold that pin to actually use my hand, and I press the slack guide back. Okay, so that's all the way back. Okay, and I'm gonna take that pin now and insert it in here, okay, to prevent the plunger from moving forward. You see the plunger? Okay, you want to keep holding that so it doesn't fall out. And now you can loosen these bolts here. Okay, so there we go. Tension is out. Now this, you don't want to, you want to hold this, so support this with your hand so it doesn't, because this is under pressure, so be careful that you don't point this at anybody or anything. If this pin gets out, the plunger is going to go flying. Right, so that's how you remove the tensioner. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the rest of the tensioner. This is it's an 8mm Allen to remove the bottom of the tensioner. Okay, so now that the tensioner is out, you want to make sure that you don't move the crankshaft. Okay, because the crankshaft turns in relation with the cams, so you want to be very careful when you're walking down here. Okay, and I'm gonna have to remove this this guide also, so that the chain can come off the top of the camshaft.